So hi, Amazon sellers. This is Chris McCabe of e-commerce Chris. I'm here with a client of mine, Sergio, and we had an interesting experience getting his suspended account reinstated recently. And thank you so much for joining me, by the way, to discuss this, because I think this will be an instructional moment for a lot of sellers who have faced listing compliance suspensions, or in your case, ASIN variation suspensions. So maybe if you could just give us a quick background or summary on how it happened, how you got stuck, and then how you ended up contacting us for help.
Hi, Chris. Thank you for having me here. And I got suspended for variation abuse. And in the first place, I received, it was unintentional. In the first place, I received performance notification, and I reacted. I tried to fix in a way that I thinking, contacted Amazon support, work with them. I replied to seller performance team with my reply, with my thoughts. They continue to send me a performance notification, and I continue to do on my part, hoping that we have upcoming communications. The last email I received from them, they said, we're not going to continue to communicate with you. Our email was to draw your attention to our policies.
Right.
And I missed.
So they were vague. They were kind of general. They weren't giving you specific enough help, right?
Yeah, they didn't. And they didn't really give me any help. They just continue to send performance notification along with taking some action by breaking my variation. And last email, what they sent it to me, I misread this email. I didn't understand that it was the last warning, and a few days later, I got suspended.
Right. So just for everyone listening and watching, it's common to misunderstand the variations abuse notifications. They're not written with enough specifics, and you usually need somebody to help you kind of interpret what they're talking about. So you got a little bit stuck and frustrated with them, and then you went out for external help at that point.
After my account was suspended, yes, I went out for external help, and we're trying to solve ourselves. As usual, you can go blog, you can find how plan of action should be. Everyone can Google out, and how this is how it started.
Yeah. So, and then eventually you kind of sifted through all the different sites and people talking about expertise around account suspensions. I mean, how many people did you contact, and then ultimately how many of them actually understood? Now that, with what you know now, how many of them do you think understood the nature of the problem?
Okay, let me tell you this. Unless I get you involved, I would say it more was like, you know, with people sales pitch when they try to sign me up and have me pay their money for their help.
Right.
I don't think I can get an impression from them that they really understood. But back then I thought it's okay. This is how it should be.
Mm-hmm. And then you ended up latching on with a company that said they had former Amazonians on staff, and you expected them to be expert level, I assume, right?
Yes, actually I signed them
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, we're hearing this a lot, right? A lot of people are saying that they've hired former Amazonians, and we don't see any evidence that they have. But in your case, you were working with a former Amazonian. We don't have to get into names or anything. And then that didn't work out because, what would you say, the plan of action they wrote for you was too general, or it was just off the mark?
Okay, I just, when you started, when you've never been suspended, you have no idea, right? When is it plan of action good or not? And with my specific case, when I received my plan of action, we submitted, and it's been denied. And after this, company continued to send me plan of action, which kind of like, you know, was like reshuffling. It was content was different. It was moved around from top down. But when you're reading this, you kind of asking yourself, why anyone in the world would be reinstate you with like shuffling? And I continue to press for the strategy, and I say, what is the strategy? which interesting that some people saying our strategy is continue to send this shuffling plan of action
Right.
until somebody will get reinstated. It's kind of like, we have to get someone who will reinstate you. Like, we have to give, like, some more kind guy who will feel sorry for you and reinstate it. And this doesn't really sounds like feasible action or a good strategy.
Well, the good news is they actually convinced you to escalate once, I think, with the wrong kind of POA, the wrong kind of plan of action that didn't have the right information in it. But fortunately, no one really read that until they read the POA that we put together for you. So that ended up paying off, because getting the right information in front of the right person is what you needed, not just getting the same information in front of someone new.
Right, and I think it's absolutely right. Thank you to bring this up. I think this is at a flavor of the progress, or maybe a wrong impression to the seller, because that's why it's taking me so long before I contacted Chris. Because when we talk about escalation, yes, we escalated. And when you escalate it, you got the impressions that your plan of action is good because it's what you told, right? Even you have these doubts when you get in shuffling around, but you get an escalation. And after this is like failed, no one really replied from escalation, but it was denied from performance team. You kind of realize it's not really working in the ways that you expect.
Yeah, and it was interesting from a post-mortem perspective on our side, because you were doing this for weeks and you were sending maybe an average of one POA a week. But the problem is the POA didn't have the right information in it. And once you had the right information, sending that in, how long did it take them to get you back and reinstated?
Oh, after you did it?
After you sent it in, how long did it take?
Okay, I would like to say this, and people could be shocked. And if I would be like, someone's shoes right now who is listening, it take me 1 hour, 2 minutes.
They responded right away, right? Yeah.
1 hour, 2 minutes, you can say right away, right? And this is absolutely true. It's not a selling pitch or anything.
Right.
I was totally shocked. It's literally like take me 1 hour to get reinstated after we submitted POs that Chris and his team created.
Yeah. And the difference with variations is if you show Amazon that you understand the nature of the problem, you demonstrate in the root causes that you've identified all the listing errors and mistakes, and intentional or not, the abuses of the variations that you created, then in the plan of action itself, you show how your solutions will credibly prevent this from happening again in the future. Then you could be done. They can, if you get that in front of the right investigator, they'll appreciate that. They'll understand that you know what's going on and that you know how to prevent it in the future. And they're confident you won't run into that problem again, and they won't have to look at you for that again. And in your case, thank God, it was that simple. They read it, they understood it, and that was it. So it is possible with the right POA to get it in front of them and get reinstated that quickly. It seems impossible to some people, but it is that possible. So
it's very true, and most people who get reinstated first time they get an information from reading internet blogs and people opinion, and people express their opinion in their personal interaction. And my mistakes that I was told that you have to wait for a week, and actually I lost 1.5 months. And
it's a long time to be off, especially heading into Q4. You probably worried that you wouldn't be back in time for the holiday.
Yes, it's true. It's true. And by that time, when I contacted Chris and we got his POs that reinstated us magically within an hour, I completely lost faith that it could be done so quickly. Right. And what Chris said, it just proven, not because his words, because facts and actual facts, what happened with me.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you reached out to us, and I'm glad we're able to get on it quickly and get you back reinstated quickly for Q4. And I look forward to working with you in the future. And definitely thanks for joining me today to talk about this. I hope this is instructive and helpful to other sellers. So I appreciate your time.
Okay, thank you very much. And I would add another thing, Chris. Another important factor when it's in a communication when Chris has with his clients, as with me in my case, he is very reachable and open and willing to discuss. And it was very different in a conversation that I have with my prior engagement. Not in a way that I had prolonged conversation with them, but it wasn't in a way that it was helpful. For example, when I ask about a strategy, I can get an answer. I think in a way that Chris approaching, it's you feel his engagement and you feel that his answer is sincere.
And especially in cases like this that are somewhat complex, you have to have that interaction where you clear away any confusion or misunderstanding. Otherwise, a key detail might be missing from the plan of action, and it only takes one missed bullet or opportunity to explain what went wrong to result in a denial. So I'm glad we were able to communicate very well with each other and get the plan of action done so quickly. So yeah. Thanks again for joining me, and thanks for working with us.
Thank you, Chris, for your help.